Okay, let's talk about Merrick Garland for a second, because now there's a report by the Wall Street Journal that they are now issuing what are called threat tags, directed by the head of FBI's criminal division and the head of FBI's counterterrorism division, that they are now flagging all assessments and investigations into potential criminal threats, harassment, and intimidation of educators with a, quote, threat tag. This is, again, back to Merrick Garland's enthusiastic embrace of the National School Board's push to treat parents as criminals, possibly domestic terrorists. And Garland told both bodies of Congress that he wasn't going to do that, that he was only going to go after violence and threats of violence. Andy McCarthy, who I trust, says the threat tag is basically just an organization system for the FBI to organize parents into the FBI guy in California doesn't know what is happening with the FBI guy in Virginia. So they all have a massive file if they just tag us all with these threat tags, if they're trying to find all the parents who have been bad. So it doesn't make me feel any better. And to me, it's just proof that they are going forward with this. As Merrick Garland said, it is real. It wasn't just an appeasement of the national school boards or of Joe Biden in a momentary lapse. They really want to come after parents who get out of line at these school board meetings.
Yeah, Megyn, I think they're dancing to the tune of the School Board Association's radical leftists, who its own board is repudiated now by rescinding the letter that kicked all this off. But I also think they were acting in concert with the teachers' unions, people like Randy Weingarten, who shut down our schools for more than a year and are forcing toddlers to wear masks when they go back to preschool or pre-K or kindergarten. Merrick Garland has proven to be totally out of his depth as the attorney general. Maybe he was a good judge when he could sit up in an ivory tower and read and write about the law with 5 employees who worshiped the ground he walked on. But to be in charge of our Department of Justice, 150,000 employees on sensitive matters like investigating parents who go to school boards to complain that their schools are closed and their kids have to use remote learning, or complain that their kids have to wear masks in classes, or they're being indoctrinated to hate America, he's far beyond his skill sets to succeed in that job. So what he's doing, I'm afraid, is deferring to the radical leftists that they've installed in the Department of Justice that do want to crack down on parents who are merely going to school boards to complain about what they see as misguided policies. This is just one example of the politicization of the Department of Justice. That's why I've said Merrick Garland should resign in disgrace.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I heard you saying to him, thank God you're not in the Supreme Court. Remember that when Barack Obama couldn't get him a confirmation hearing because Mitch McConnell stopped it. And it was like, the Republicans could do worse with a Democratic appointed nominee to the Supreme Court than Merrick Garland. He seems pretty moderate. Even some Republicans seem to like the guy. Now that you actually see him in office, you tell me, but he seems much further left than I thought he ever was.
He's both ideologically to the left and he's incompetent. Again, he's letting these radical ideologues run his department. Megyn, we have it on pretty good authority from sources inside the FBI that they did not take seriously the School Board Association. In fact, they kind of laughed it off until they were directed by Merrick Garland's front office at the Department of Justice to take it seriously. And that's why Merrick Garland sent out a nationwide memo to all of his U.S. attorneys directing them to come up with a plan on what they were going to do to crack down on parents and sick the feds on them when they went to a school board to complain about that board's policies.
Well, and he had a couple of reasons to do that, right? His boss, Joe Biden, wanted it done. We've seen that because he coordinated with the School Board Association on the letter. Joe did, Biden did, before it ever got to Merrick Garland. And 2, Merrick Garland is conflicted on this. His son-in-law makes tens of millions of dollars, his organization does, off of pushing CRT materials in these schools, which is in large part what the parents are yelling about at these school board meetings. It'd be much better for his family if they went away. And he wouldn't even answer whether he had sought an ethics opinion on that, even though his own ethical rules required that of him.
Yeah, and it really does get back to that point, Megyn. So many on the left are gaslighting Americans and parents by saying, critical race theory is not taught in schools. But it really does get back to teaching kids, no matter what their age, at what level of intellectual sophistication, that race is the most important thing about you, that there are certain races that are oppressive and certain that are victimized. That's why, for instance, up in Northern Virginia, another element of the parental backlash was when they shut down AP and gifted and talented programs, or when they stopped admissions at restricted admissions at public high schools like Thomas Jefferson. They did those things, again, because they were unhappy that there were so many Asian Americans in those classes. and not enough black kids. It all gets back to the left's obsession with race and trying to indoctrinate kids as young as pre-K to see the world through the eyes of race. That's why Ibram X. Kendi, one of the charlatans who promotes critical race theory, has a children's book.
That's crazy. Who would ever subject their child to that? I mean, he had one of the tweets out in the wake of the Rittenhouse verdict. It reads as follows: "They're fighting to maintain white male supremacy," which is to say they are defending law and order, defending their America, where white men can rule and brutalize without consequence. You mean like Derek Chauvin? Because I think he was a white man who faced some serious consequences for his acts with respect to George Floyd. But this is how they see America, guys like Kendi. And it's to your point about the schools and the divisions on race. This is at the college level, but there was a story about Rittenhouse today. There's some university in Massachusetts, Fitchburg State. They hosted several processing spaces segregated by race, right? More and more we segregate by race in response to the verdict. The Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Group announced it, saying we're creating space for our community to process the not guilty verdict. In the case where Kyle Rittenhouse, an Illinois native, okay, not relevant, he was just across the border from where his dad lived, by the way, shot and killed two people who were protesting. Okay, they were rioting. They weren't protesting anything. The wrongful death of Jacob Blake. Okay, again, he's alive, people. He is alive. These people, they don't know anything that they're talking about. But yeah, segregation by race is the answer. That'll solve our racist problems.
Yeah, and Megyn, is this so often the case in these riots, whether they're in Kenosha or in New York or in Minneapolis, it's many times minority-owned businesses that are being destroyed, barbershops or sandwich places or dry cleaners, oftentimes that don't have enough insurance to cover the damage. But these rioters, they don't care. They just are going out to rampage because they want to condemn all of America as systemically racist. I mean, that's what critical race theory does. And in fact, I would say that people like Ibram X. Kendi sound like secessionists like Jeff Davis, or sound like John Calhoun or Roger Taney in the Dred Scott decision. But I don't even have to imply that. One of Ibram Kendi's books is actually entitled with a verbatim quote from Jefferson Davis.
It's so crazy. You don't have to peel the onion layers back very far to get to just how racist those thoughts and comments are, and yet still we reward them with millions of dollars and big platforms.